Hello and welcome to North Country Matters. My name is Donna Seymour. I'm a member of the St. Lawrence County League of Women Voters, one of the civic partners for our show. Today we're going to be doing a Town of Canton checkup, and we're doing that checkup with Mary Ann Ashley, who is the Town of Canton Supervisor. Welcome back to North Country Matters, Mary Ann.
Well, thank you, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for having me.
You've been a guest on the show before, both as a candidate for Canton Village Mayor and for Town Supervisor. You came in to give us a Village of Canton checkup. So this is your Town of Canton checkup opportunity here. And there's a lot to talk about. Canton, there's a lot going on in Canton these days, isn't there?
There certainly is.
So,
there certainly is.
Why don't you give us some of the highlights of your first 16 months in office before we dive into some of the specifics that we wanted to talk about today. But I know you want to kind of give folks a little pep talk about all the good things that are happening.
Well, it's all about being positive, and there is a lot going on. And you know, January 1st of 2018, we hit the ground running. We set up the supervisor's office, we examined the finances, we set up internal audit control systems so that at any time, you know, any board member can look at our books. I ran my campaign on bringing the bookkeeper to the board each month to give a financial report, and that's exactly what we've done. So that's a critical highlight. The second thing is, this would be the first budget, the town budget that I proposed, but nobody does this alone. So while we were doing the budget process and learning, we also negotiated a 4-year highway contract. And
just to add some fun to the mix, right?
Yes, it was. But you know, we have 7 wonderful departments. We contract out for services with 3 different agencies, with 3 different companies.
Right.
Okay, so we've had 6 staff changes, but we don't do it alone. You know, the town of Canton is 100 miles in circumference, right? So we have 3 governments, 2 villages in the town. We have 4 volunteer fire departments. We work together as a team. We work closely with the Village of Canton. You know, we have the shared space, and with the Village of Rensselaer Falls. And we don't do it alone. Everybody has stepped up, and we've gotten through the first year. It's been a learning experience, but one I'm proud of. But it's about the frontline employees that do the work, and you know.
And meet the challenges every day of providing those services, whether it's nice weather like this or the middle of a snowstorm.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly. The work ethic is very strong, and I am so humbled and grateful to be part of these teams. We're focused on the people, right? Sure. And so we're getting it done. It's been a challenging year, but we're pushing through. That's good.
That's good. So, Mary Ann, one of the issues in the supervisor's race when you ran was the town finances, and the state has ordered an audit of the town of Canton books to find out what's going on. Is that audit complete? If it's not complete, do you have any idea when it's going to be complete, so that you know folks can kind of get a feel for that process can finally be put to bed?
Well, and we all want it to be put to bed, and there's not a week that goes by that a board member gets questioned about where we're at with that. So the board requested an audit in August of 17. The field research was completed March 5th of 2018, and the process is, after the field research, it's brought up to the comptroller's office, and that's assessed, and then they will send something in writing back to the town. Then the town will have an opportunity to respond, and then the response will go to the comptroller's office, and then they'll issue a final report. That final report will be public, along with our town response. We want to make sure that the public is aware of our response as well. So we have not received anything. But
it's been just over a year, so since the audit was complete, or the.
Yeah, so we're
the-
going on a year and a half.
Yeah, right,
When the
right.
whole process started, so, you know, we want it completed. The board did direct me, I did have called the comptroller's office a couple times to inquire. And the response is, it's still in progress. And so, from my viewpoint is, although that's out there, we have moved forward in
Right.
setting up the proper internal control audit systems to make sure that we're doing the proper thing according to the law. You know, our bills are audited each month. Each town board member has access to our books, read-only access. The payroll is audited by the deputy supervisor and myself, along with Gray and Gray is our accounting firm. So we have that in place, right? So that's another system.
Right, another
that-
set of eyes.
Yes,
Yeah,
you know.
right.
And Gray and Gray comes to the board every single month, and we get a 8-page report on every fund.
So the bills are being paid and you're still waiting on the state for the rest of it, but you've got a process in place that allows you to move forward in a very controlled and with a lot of eyes on the process. So no questions about that.
And, you know, we've worked closely with the comptroller's office. We have submitted on time our annual update document, which is a reflection of the funds for the town. We're the keepers of the taxpayers' money. And, you know, we have a $2.7 million budget, and that's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money,
Right?
yeah.
So not only, $1 million of that money is property taxes. We have about 16 other revenue sources. And the highway is the next largest, right? We were just notified that we're losing $43,000 in highway funds, so that's just, you know, that's not good. So it's kind of like a juggling act, and nothing's guaranteed. Nothing's guaranteed. So, you know, we did very well on the budget. We stayed under the 2% tax cap. We did have to raise the taxes a little bit, but we are underfunded and we're understaffed. And it's
And still managing to provide the service that your folks in the town need and expect, aren't you? So
Yes.
it's a good you're a good juggler.
well, it's a board
team.
of 5.
Yeah.
It's a team, and the department heads, you know, when we were putting the budget together, they did a wonderful job. You know, they need to think about the needs of the department, and that's what my goal is departments first, and all the other stuff, right, that is good, but we have to take care of our departments because that's what the taxpayers expect. You know, the highway department, that's 1.6 million. That's our biggest expense. And there's still not enough money. I'm getting calls, board members are getting calls about the conditions of our roads this year.
All
We do
you
not-
have to do is drive down a North Country road and you see how bad this winter was and how tough it was.
And we don't have enough money to fix the roads. We're lucky if we can pave 4 to 5 miles of 100 miles of road, right, a year. So, it's hard.
Yeah,
It's
that's
hard.
too long a turnaround
Exactly,
time, yeah.
exactly. And we're not the only ones, you know, every village in town, we're in the same boat. And we're appreciative of the CHIPS money and what the state does for us, but it really is all about the money and what we can do.
Sure. So, Mary Ann, Canton, like Potsdam, is working on a town comprehensive plan, and you elected to hire a consulting firm to help with the process. Can you tell us where Canton is, and more importantly, maybe what you've learned about Canton through this process of looking at it comprehensively? Because we had Rose Revesi in last week talking about Potsdam, and she said she learned so much about the community through this process, a lot of things that she didn't know, and so it's been a very educational process.
Well, a grant was written prior to me, and a committee was formed in 2017, of September 2017. The last plan for Canton was in 1968. So it was time to update. You know, there was a Canton Community Action Plan, but a comprehensive plan pulls everything together and identifies all the needs of the town. So this committee has been working real hard, due diligence, working with the the company that it was contracted for. So where the committee is right now is there is a preliminary draft that the committee needs to go through, and then the committee needs to hold a public hearing on the draft. And then once that part is done, then there needs to be a secret review, and then it'll go to the boards for review. Now, it's the three governments, right? So it's Rensselaer Falls, the Village of Canton, and the Town of Canton. So each of us will have to have our own public hearing after we review it, and then hopefully a document will be passed. It's about integrity of the process, right? So we want the best product possible, but there is so much. And so, you know, you could have a really big comprehensive plan, but it's, you know, there's good things that are in there already, and I'm looking forward to having them all be in one document. Having said that, though, we have all these other plans that you and I might talk about in a little bit. So hopefully by the end of the summer, maybe early September. But again, you know, the committee has set deadlines, but because of different issues or whatever and more input needed, it's taken a little bit longer. But it's better to...
You don't want to rush it.
You don't want to rush it.
You won't get the best results if you rush, right?
And if I may say, you know, we have so many volunteer committees that are getting so much done. It's just heartwarming.
Yeah, it is.
I appreciate that.
You know, Canton, every time I hear something about what folks in Canton are doing, it always seems to be from the bottom up, the grassroots up, is people are taking on issues and they're finding solutions to these things, and it's a great process, small d democracy, to watch what Canton is doing. So
it's very nice.
One of the topics in the news all the time because of the climate crisis or climate destabilization is emergency planning and preparedness. Does Canton have a disaster plan?
Well, we need to update.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's interesting that you asked that question because 2 months ago I brought it and put it on our agenda that we really need to look at an emergency plan for the entire town. So, again, it's about priorities and what we need to get done next, and but it is needed, you know. I would like to work closely with the county emergency services and, you know, look at the big picture of what
and then
we
figure out
should
what
do.
your piece of the big picture
Exactly.
is.
You know, our fire departments, well, for volunteers, they are not paid to do what they do. And boy, are we lucky to have them, because they are the first responders, you know, the law enforcement first responders. But to have a coordinated effort, well, we don't want to go through the ice storm again.
No, but you know,
But the
you can go
climate
through
change-
a windstorm. You can go through a windstorm and knock a bunch of trees over,
Exactly.
and those trees have to be cleaned and moved out of the way.
Right.
And they have to be moved out of the way in a hurry if you have to get behind them to get to somebody.
Exactly, and our
Yeah.
highway departments, you know, they work collaboratively, so, you know, they gotta clear the way for emergency services, so, we're looking to maybe get one going
Yeah.
and get it done, so, it's very important to the health and safety of everybody.
Well, you need it when you need it, and you want to think about it before you need it.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly.
So Canton is, like Potsdam, is working on becoming an energy smart community. In fact, Canton has been leading this effort for a long time, long before the Energy Smart Community program even got going. Tell us some of the work that you guys are doing along that line to become even more energy conscious than you already are as a community, and working on a lot of these issues, because they're so critical to meeting some of the things we were just talking about with the disaster plan.
Well, part of the Canton Community Action Plan was to develop a sustainability committee, and so that was done for maybe going on 5 years ago. Again, volunteers that care about our environment, they're moving things forward. So, you know, there's subcommittees within that committee, and, you know, we have a wonderful group of people that have moved the residential solar program forward, and just really bringing it to the board's awareness that we need to get these things done. So some of the highlights, well, the the Village of Canton Solar Array Project. That was started 4 years ago, and it's coming to fruition as far as, it's set up, it's hooked up, and, certainly the Mayor Dalton can talk to the details of that. But that's exciting, that's gotten done. And then also, what came out of the Sustainability Committee is the food composting project.
Which is a brand new project, that's just went online,
It's brand
right?
new, and, I'm bringing my food scraps down there, and it's a wonderful thing that those can be recycled into the compost, and then residents can use the compost. So, we have a complete streets committee, that's a separate committee. We have a trails committee. So all these committees are working together for the betterment of our environmental concerns.
Right.
So, the town of Canton, we passed a moratorium on a solar law, and, we've extended that a
That's the
couple
commercial solar aspect
Yes.
as opposed to residential, right?
Yes, so where we're at with that, we have a very preliminary draft, and that is at our legal counsel, and then we'll look at that again, and then there'll be a public hearing. And, these are critical issues that we have to think about as far as regulating. So, there's no stopping the Sustainability Committee.
No, I don't think so. They are a power unto themselves.
They are, it's so appreciated. We're trying to, the Master Trails Plan alone, just in the Complete Streets Committee, and,
And those all lend themselves to quality of life and being able to enjoy nature and having some structure around all of that stuff so that it can be developed in a sustainable way that makes sense for the community and for the use of the community.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So those are all important things. One of the things, Mary Ann, that I wanted to be sure to touch on you with is how well the town government collaborates with the two village governments, particularly between you and the village of Canton, because you share a lot of services and you work very cooperatively together, and it's a real model for other communities to use, isn't it? So why don't you tell us some of the joint efforts that you have?
Oh, there's so many.
Yeah, there are a lot, but it saves the taxpayers money, and it also makes the planning, you're not duplicating services, are you?
Shared services.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. And we have intermunicipal agreements with the Village of Canton. So our code office, I'll just start with that. Okay, that's funded 50% village, 50% town, but it's a town-run program. Recreation is a village-run program. However, the town does finance a portion of that. So, economic development, it's the same thing. We fund a little bit of that position. However, there's an economic development consortium. It's a group of entities that fund that program also. So that's a collaborative effort. The assessor. We just hired a new assessor, and the village pays a third of that program. Our historian is now a town employee, but is 50% funded by the village. We also have a subcommittee of the two boards, shared services committee that looks at the intermunicipal agreements. We have joint village town meetings. We're developing a closer relationship with Rensselaer Falls. With the highway, we provide a lot of highway services down there. So in Rensselaer Falls, and boy, that community is just thriving. And we're looking to get some shared services agreements with Rensselaer Falls. So our two boards, the Village of Canton and the Town of Canton, we have joint meetings to talk about specific issues. So our ethics laws need to be updated. So we both appointed two people to serve on an ethics committee to come back and give us recommendation on a new law for each entity.
Do you share court services as well, or not?
There was a village court that got dissolved years ago, so now it's a town court, and that's not a shared service financially, but you know, we're in the same building.
But there's one court for the
There's one
both
court,
entities, yeah.
yes, and boy, are they busy. They do a wonderful job.
You'd mentioned before about fire protection services and having 4 different volunteer fire departments within the town borders. That is, talk about a critical service for everybody, but particularly if you live in a rural area and you don't have access to like a village owned system. Those volunteers they save lives and property every day, don't they?
Oh my goodness. And I believe Potsdam also has 4 different ones, so, but the costs are going up.
And a lot of those are state mandated costs about types of
Absolutely.
equipment and training and all the rest
insurance.
of it. And you're asking a lot from volunteers who are giving of their time away from their family and away from their jobs to be doing these kind of work.
Exactly. And I believe nationwide there's a crisis of volunteers, you know, coming into the departments. We need people to step up.
Like a lot of things, a lot of these departments are aging.
They are.
And young people aren't joining the way they did back in previous generations.
And we spend $275,000 on fire protection. Is it enough? No. But the task force, the town, we have this task force that is charged with examining all those issues, coming up with possible solutions or recommendations, and then it'll come back to the town board, and then we'll go from there. But, you know, even county-wide, you know, there's an association, and they all work together, and they support each other. If there's a call in one municipality, another municipality will come, you know, and it's, I'm so grateful for that. And it is about life and death.
It is.
And we need them.
Yeah, and it's also a great way to build community, especially around some of these smaller places that no longer have a school or don't maybe have much of a downtown business section anymore, but they certainly, if they still have a fire department, they have a sense of community and a sense of belonging, don't they?
They do. Well, they're wonderful. We appreciate everything they do.
Yeah, so talk a little bit to us, Mary Ann, about what Canton is doing on maximizing your recreation land and your recreation opportunities, because that's also an economic opportunity, isn't it, for communities that have access to water and trails and whatnot.
Well, our recreation program is a strong program, but again, you know, we have an arena, and it is a village-run program. But it's about the bigger picture, right? It's about sustainability for the arena, or for our beach, that type of thing. But the BOA grant, the Brownfield Opportunity Grant that we secured, we are subcontracting with the village to administer that, and there's specific analysis that are going to be part of that grant, and land use is one of them. But there's a whole list, and there were so many I did have to write them.
That's quite all right.
You know, we're looking at a housing analysis, redevelopment of the best use of the sites. It's a 73-acre program for Brownfield Opportunity. This is stage 2, and you know, we have some sites that need to be reevaluated. We're looking at a streetscape enhancement of Governor Street. We're looking at reviewing our zoning and land regulations, and an environmental analysis, a business analysis. So it's gonna be studying the issues and identify them, you know, and then where do we need to go from there. So the village will be administering that grant for the town, because it's really in the village.
Sure.
So we were grateful that they agreed to take that over.
Yeah, and all those things, they all go in towards quality of life. And quality of life is something that, you know, you're always concerned about, whether you live in the town or the village, because it adds to the ambiance of the community, doesn't it?
It sure does.
Okay.
It sure does. There's a lot of work to be done.
Well, you have, in Canton, you have a lot of people who are happy to step up to the plate as volunteers to do that work, don't you?
Absolutely.
And that is, you're very rich in people resources in Canton, and you have created an atmosphere there where people feel like they can come forward if they see a problem or an issue, and they can come forward and say, you know, I'd like to work on this. You always seem to be so welcoming to bring people into the process.
And ask them to help.
Yeah, absolutely, but it is
when
more than
somebody-
just identifying a problem, it's saying, what are the solutions and how can we work together to find them, and that's really important. So, Marianne, no one who sits in the supervisor's chair in any town, in any community across this country, isn't faced with challenges. You mentioned some earlier, just trying to figure out how to make too few dollars cover too many needs. So what are some of the items that top the challenge list for you in Canton?
Well, it really comes down to the primary challenge is the finances. You know, our taxpayers expect quality services. We're providing those, but we don't have enough staff to do it all. We don't have enough money to do it all. No municipality does, and it's about prioritizing. You know, we need additional staff in at least 3 of the departments, but especially highway. We need additional funding for highway projects. You know, because the deterioration of our roads, we can't keep up. You know, it's as simple as that, and we're doing the best we can, but there are so many roads that need repair. It's a critical situation in my view. And so it's about the money, it's about the staffing. Those are the
And, you know,
top two, you know.
and Canton and Potsdam both have the same problem, it's certainly in terms of the village, but also it affects the town finances, is so much property is off the tax rolls that there's really a limit to how much you can draw from the taxpayers who are actually on those tax rolls, and the 2% tax cap at the state level has to hurt at some point, because yes, you want to control the size of the taxes, but sometimes you just need money to do the basic work that needs to be done, and that's got to always be a struggle for figuring out where that money is going to come from.
It is a struggle. It is a struggle. We can override the 2% tax cap. Do we want to? Maybe, maybe not. But there comes a time where we just need more money to get the job done. And, you know, property taxpayers, they want low taxes, but they want the same, and we all do, right?
Of course, we want something for nothing.
We want the level of service.
Right.
But there's only so much we can do.
Right.
And, you know, another shared service that I want to mention, if I may, is, you know, we share a municipal building. And we did put out an RFP. We're in the process of, we received the proposals back and it's going to committee. You know, we have 2 hubs of government sitting in a 1964 building. We need more space and it needs to be upgraded. It's about the health and safety of all the people that work in that building. And, you know, but we need to document that through a study to move forward. The town hall in Potsdam is beautiful, you know, but it's working with the shared services of 2 hubs of governments. And we also have the police station in there. And, you know, that's a problem. They're running out of space as well. So that's critical for the people that work in that building. It's about their health and safety.
Sure it is.
You know, so, but again, there's another cost. So it is a balancing act. So our town board is a progressive board, visionary, task-oriented. We've been busy, but they've been busy too, because we work on a committee-based system. You know, they're working closely with departments, you know, working closely with the village. It's just, the camaraderie is wonderful. Have there been challenges? Absolutely. Have there been disagreements? Absolutely, but we get through those to move forward. for the benefit of the people.
You take a real team approach in Canton, don't you?
We try.
Yeah.
We try. Yeah.
So as we wrap up, Mary Ann, this is your opportunity for an elevator speech. What makes Canton a great place to live, work, and play? You know, you're a booster for your community. That's part of your job as town supervisor, is to do that. You are personally a very positive person. So what's Canton got that a lot of other places would like to have?
Well, I think the human condition, for me, is it's about the people, and it's about trusting relationships. And I think we've got it. You know, everybody helps everybody in Canton, and we all want the best for each other. Again, are there disagreements, differences? Absolutely. But the main goal is, for me, and what I've experienced living in Canton all these years, is the kindness and the compassion and the caring and treating people with dignity and respect at all times, no matter what, because it's about, we're all in this together, the human race, right? And we have to rely on each other, but we have to do that in a kind way, non-judgmental. And that may be the counselor coming out in me, but I think it's important that we all treat each other with kindness, respect, and dignity. So, and I think Canton has that, and I think every community has that. But there's different challenges. So I'm grateful for the positive relationships and the trust that is shown. And I said this to a person the other day, it's about being brave in a new world. I think our world has changed, but we shouldn't change as far as, you know, treating each other badly. So I think every community has it. It's just a matter of focusing on the positive, and I do get teased a little bit.
Pollyanna, when did that happen?
Those rose-colored glasses. But I have hope on things that are going to move forward, and I have hope that relationships will continue even though there's disagreements and judgments. And I can only control my behavior. I can't control other people's behaviors, but how I respond. And so I think we have that in every community.
Well, you know, you make a good point that all communities face a lot of challenges, and some of them are internal in terms of relationships, some of them are external in terms of things that the state or the federal government wants us to do, whether it's challenges from the weather or the environment or anything else, and how we respond to that is the strength of the community is in the relationships and within the trust that the people have in each other's goodwill. And Canton is a place with a lot of goodwill, and it shows to the rest of us who don't live in Canton, so keep it up, you're doing the right thing.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for coming in and giving us this town checkup. It's always a pleasure to dive a little bit under the surface of what's going on in our local communities. It's one of the things that makes the North Country such a great place to live.
It is a great place to live.
Thank you, Mary Ann.
Thank you.
Our time is up. These conversations are a production of North Country Matters, which is filmed here in the Fred W. Cleveland Computer Center of the Potsdam Public Library. These shows are a civic collaboration between the St. Lawrence County League of Women Voters and the Potsdam Public Library. Until next time, remember, our North Country Matters. Mary Ann, thank you.